Aloha Keiki parents and teachers. Welcome to the study plan. My name is Kumu Kim, and in this episode we are going to be covering grade 3 week 7 spelling words from Evan Moor. Main idea, grade 3 week 7 spelling words from Evan Moor. We're going to cover the phonetic spelling for these words so that you can work with your child, student, or aid so that we can support the kids that we're working with in their spelling of words. As they learn these phonetic patterns and spelling, what's going to help them is that they're going to be able to now take those patterns and strategies that they're learning or rules in English language so that they can apply it to any word, not just memorize the word that they learned that week, right? That's what we need to do to build fluent spellers, is have them be able to realize that these sounds are going to come up in more than just the word that they're learning for this week. So when they learn practicing spelling with sounds, it helps and applies to more for any word that they're going to be working with. Okay. Now, to break things down, we have two categories. Our first category is going to be single syllable words. The second category is going to be multisyllabic words. For most of the words that we're going to work on this week, they are going to be 2 syllables. But in the last 2 words that I'm going to review, in different and Mississippi, they're going to be multisyllables outside of just 2, right? So different is going to be 3, Mississippi 4. Okay? All right, let's get after it. So our words for 3rd grade. Let's break these apart. Our first one is our single syllable words, which is the first one. I'm going to do the shorter word of the 2 is going to be the word off. So we have ah, right, is our first sound, and then f is a 2-letter sound, right, where the letter is going to double, right? So how would you write that? Go ahead and try and write it. Off. Okay, only 2 sounds. Last sound, double it. Okay, first sound, ah, o, f. Okay, so we said that here's the sound that we want to say, but we want to double that sound. So if I double it, here we go. Now we got the word off. Okay, if it didn't have 2 F's, it would say of. Next word, the word is still. And again, it's that double letter sound, or that doubled letter on the last sound. So the word is still. S, t, I, and then ol. Each one of these first ones is 1 sound, right? Made up of 1 letter. The last one is still 1 sound, but made up of 2 letters. So s, t, I, ol. Right? If you were to break that apart, and this last one we talked about it needs to be a letter, right? But I want you to double that letter. Okay, st, I, ol, still. Let's break it down. S, t, t, I, and then ol is going to be l, and I double it. Okay, still. Now we get into these words that are multisyllabic words, right? So we're going to encounter, for the most part, 2 syllables. Oops, I want the one that's a little bit brighter. All right. So our first sound, first word, mist. The tricky part is what 2 letters are going to be used to make an ending past tense. So we only have 2 words that have this past tense ending. And what 2 letters make that past tense ending? I usually don't write it as 2 because it sometimes is 2 sounds like ed. But it could also be a d or t sound for a past tense ending. So I typically like to teach it as a 2-letter sound, even if it's ed, because we're teaching the concept of a past tense sound. And what does that look like? Okay. So we have miss in our first one. So it's going to say is, right? And then we have st. And then that two letter right there. Okay, st. So we have miss as our first one. Is. Okay? And then we have st. But here we're hearing a T sound, right? However, it is not a T. It is a past tense ending. How do we write a past tense ending? It is always, always, always ED. Unless it's something like feed, fed, something like that. Or say, said will be another one. Okay, so we usually are going to be adding ED. And like I mentioned, ED, the past tense ending, can make three different sounds. It can make a T sound, right? A D sound, or it can make the ed sound. But we don't say mised, we say missed with a T, okay? All right, so we're just going to help them realize, oh, we need to know how to spell a past tense ending, ED, always. All right, our next past tense ending word, okay, is going to be add, dead. So now we get the ed sound for our past tense ending. So add, right? Each one sound, our syllable to break it apart, syllable line right here. And then the rest of the sound, dead, d, ed. So d, ed. And this last one, past tense spelling, how do we do it? We just did it, right? But now remember, we said that it makes three different sounds. It makes t, it makes d, and it makes ed, okay? How do we spell our past tense ending? Always ed, okay? So we have, just to figure out the rest of it, so add, and then dead. So the first sound, add, a, d, d, and then dead, d, d, and then ed, d, ed. Good. We are done with our past tense endings. And we're going to now just focus on the two syllables. So let me draw my syllable line, divider right there. There we go, the squiggle down the middle. And our first one is going to be will, and then ling. So some people will make ing a group sound by itself because it is an inflectional ending. However, when we have double lettered sounds, I like to separate them down the middle so that they know that it's two letters. Okay, so we're going to go will, w, I, ol. So all one sound. And then we have ol. And you could teach ing as a three-letter sound. Ing, three, right? How do we spell ing? So ling, ol, ing. So let's sound it out one more time. I'm going to break it into two syllables. Will, ling. Okay, so will is our first syllable. Three sounds. W, I, ol. So we have w, I, ol. Then ling, ol, ing, ing. Right? If I say ang, how do I do that? A-N-G. If I say ung, how do I do that one? U-N-G. If I say ong, O-N-G. Okay, oops. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that G at the very end. Okay, here we go. Next word is going to be balloon. And we make an sound for one of these that should not be an So I'm going to pronounce it slightly incorrect to help our spellers learn how to spell this correctly. So we're going to say bow. So our first sound is going to be bow, b-a-l, right? Because that's going to help them understand what sound should actually be there. And then we're going to say loon, ol, oo, n, bow, loon. When they see it as a whole, they'll be able to say the whole thing correctly. However, we're just getting the spelling down. So bow, b. That's a popper, right? Forms a line with our lip, and then it pops afterwards. We gotta be able to distinguish between our B's and D's. B, a, ol, bow, and then loon, ol, oo, n, balloon. Good. Next word, spelling. Okay, we're gonna separate the two. And remember, we have a double letter sound. What do we do with our double letter sounds? We put it on both sides of the syllable. So spell, sp, e, ol. 4 sounds, 4 letters. Sp, e, ol, spell, and then ling, ol, ing. Okay? Spell, first one. Sp, e, ol, and then ling, ol, ing, I-N-G. Okay. Next one, pretty. Okay. All right, we're going to get pretty with our spelling right now and our pronunciation of words. Okay. So instead of pretty, that's tricky because it makes the I sound. We say pretty. Well, that's not how we spell it, is it? Okay, because that's an I sound, and I is definitely not in this word. Okay, there is no I letter. We have pretty, right? We could do pre or pretty. So let's do pret. So p, et, pret, and then E. Okay, now you are hearing the E sound here, right? And I'm not going to use a phonetic support helper sound because this is a rule in the English language that we have this E sound at the end of a word. And our students should know what letter makes the E sound at the end of a word. All right, that should be very, very common and well understood. So let's do our first one. So we have pret, p, t, pret, and then t, eat. There's t. And then what letter makes the E sound at the end of a word? If you said Y, excellent job. All right, next one. We have letter. All right, again, with this awareness of the double letter sound kind of being in the middle. We're separating them out onto either side of the syllable divider. And our first one, let, ol, t, let, t, That's a 2-letter sound. This one here, this sound, is at the end of a word. Whenever there is at the end of the word, what is our spelling for It is always, always, always the same. Okay? So, students, children, you guys should know what that is. All right. So, if we think of our first syllable, let, ol, t. Okay? And then we have ter, t, and then okay? Well, is an R-controlled sound, not our bossy R like OR or AR, but an So we have 3 different types of spellings, right? 2 of them are always in the middle of a word, and that's going to be UR, and IR, right? The U and the in these R-controlled ones don't make any sound, right? R controls everything. Doesn't let the vowel say any sound but the sound of letter R, which is Okay. But neither of these ers right there is the that is at the end of a word. The one that is always at the end is, if you wrote ER, give yourself a pat on the back. So we have let, ter. Perfect. Let's go to our next word. This one's going to have an sound, and it's towards the end. Towards the end. It's not in the middle, right? It's towards the end. So we got to use that. Oops, let me get rid of these. I'm not going to give you your helpers. It's towards the end, so we still got to use the one that we use for the end, this Our word is pat, turn. Okay, so we have, oh, you know what? It is kind of tricky with this one. What a stinker. Okay. Turn, right? Usually has that UR in the middle if we're just spelling the word turn. Okay, but we're not doing that turn because the whole word is pat turn, right? So we think the is towards the end. Stinker though. Okay, so pat, pat. Okay, that's our first syllable. And then turn, okay. And then turn, n. Now, this one, we're going to pretend like this is at the very end of the word. So what spelling of do you use? So let's do our first syllable, and then we'll get around to that. First syllable, pat, pat. Okay, second syllable, turn, okay. Well, if we were spelling the word turn, would be UR, right? But we're not spelling turn as a word. It's part of a whole word, pattern. Okay, so it's ER again, and then N is at the very end. Pattern. Okay. Two more two-syllable words. Okay. And this next one that we're doing, middle, is very, very common. This suffix at the end is a very common suffix sound. And you see it in words like people, in trouble, bubble, okay? Middle is the one that we're going to see. Subtle, okay? So we see this common repeating suffix that's a grouping of 3 letters. Just the first letter changes every single time. All right, now, dull. If I was to keep on this concept of the suffix, right, which is the grouping of letters at the end of a word. Oops, it's all moving on me. So it's a 3-letter sound with a silent letter at the very end. But that silent letter is not a bopper. Okay, so we have a silent letter at the very end, and then we have 2 letters before then, right? 2 letters before this silent letter at the very end. Dull. Okay, dull. Well, a lot of our kids will go, if we think of our sound, first sound is D. And then the next one is ol. And our last sound, I get rid of that. Oops, uh-oh. Sorry. We have D, ol. Okay, and then we have a silent letter E right here. What I see a lot happen in this dull sound, and even with the support of that X at the end, they're not always paying attention to that silent letter, that silent X at the end. So we really got to kind of point that out to them, because what I'll see is I'll see a D-U-L or a D-O-L and sometimes a D-E-L, okay? Because they're thinking that, oh yeah, dull, d-ol, dull. Yeah, you're right, they're right. Yeah, that's how we phonetically would write it. But this is a suffix, and it is not always playing by the rule, okay? Dull is our spelling. So if we do dole, we got to get these patterns down, like, and they should be automatic patterns, right? Dole, pull. So dole, D-L-E, toll, T-L-E, pull, P-L-E, soul, S-L-E, gull, G-L-E, bull, B-L-E. So all these repeating suffixes of those groupings of letters with just the sound at the very beginning is the only thing that changes, okay? Very common suffix. And in front of that, we have dole at the very end. Mid. How do we do that? Spell mid. I, d. Right? 3 sounds, each one letter. Our first sound, M, I, D, D. Okay? And then dole. Let's put it together. If we put both syllables together, we have mid, dole. Okay? Now let's blend it. Middle. There we go. Next word is going to be zip, purr. Zip, purr. Okay. Again, with that sound at the end of a word, like we had in pattern and letter. Okay, is at the very, very end. Now we're not going to get confused by that end in pattern. That was at the end of the word. But we have zipper. So we have zip, z, I, p. Okay, 3 letters and 3 sounds. And then purr, 2 sounds. P, that last one, we reviewed this multiple times. Is at the end of a word. What 2 letters spell that sound at the end of a word? So at the very beginning, zip, z, I, p. And then we have purr, p. And then er. If you put ER, I am very proud of you. Good job. This makes me think now, because there's some Y's in a lot of these letters. I'm thinking Zippy's chili. Oh gosh, I could really go for some of that. Zippy's chili from Hawaii sounds fantastic. I am very into food. I don't know if you caught on when I talked about donuts last time. But yes, food is my favorite, and eating lots and lots of food from different places is as well. But anything from Hawaii sounds fantastic right now, because I miss being back there with my family. All right, anyways, here we go. Next word, carry. So we have care. And then we have e. Okay, so Usually this is a bossy R sound with those 2 letters together. It is not in this instance, right? It should say R. And how do you spell the sound of R? Not in this one. So air. And then we have e. Oh, we went over this with some of our other words, right? How do we write an E at the end of a word? Right? It is not an E. Don't put an E there. Right? What letter makes the E sound at the end of a word? We'll come back to that. I'll let you know. All right. Let's spell this care. K-A-R. Right? Care. And then we have E. If you put a Y, thumbs up for you. Awesome job. Way to remember what letter makes that. Now we get into our bigger ones, right? Our first one is going to be different. That had 3 syllables, right? Diff, fur, ent. Let me break this apart. Diff, d-if. That's our first syllable. Fur, Okay. Now again, this one should be at the end, so we're going to use our end spelling of the sound, or the spelling that's used at the end of a word. At the end of a word should be what? And then we have ent. So let me sound this out again. Diff, fur, ent. Okay, if you got this. Let's look at how this goes. So this first syllable is going to say diff, d, I. Second syllable is fur. Well, kind of differ is a word, right? And then we're adding a suffix to it, right? So that does mean that it is kind of at the end of a word if we were to take away the ent. So it does work. But we're going to go er, er, okay? Gave you a clue. And then we have ent, n, t. This is what you got. Awesome job. All right, next one, our last one, biggest for the end. This is the one that a lot of kids have fun with, Mississippi, because they love to do their spelling of it. I was just about to do it. Don't do it. You're going to give it all away if you do the rhyme. But if they know it, great. If they don't, great. We're going to use our syllables to spell this word. Okay, so here we go. Syllable break aparts. Miss. First syllable, sizz. Second syllable, sip. Third syllable, and P at the very end. All right. Here we go. Now give me my yellow. Miss. S. Sizz. So each one letter. Sizz. S. I. Z. It is not a Z, so don't put a Z. Sizz, what other letter makes the Z sound that is not Z? Okay. Mrs. Sip. S, I, P. Right? 1, 1, 1. And then P. P. E. Ooh. Ooh, this last one is going to make the E sound, but it is not an E. Not an E. And it is not a Y. Oh, so what other letter can make the E sound at the end of a word? Let's figure it out. All right, you ready? Miss. Is. This is a state. If this is a state, it is the name of something. Do we put a lowercase m? No way, Jose. No way. You need to make it a what? A capital, because it's the name of something. Oops, oh, that is terrible. Let me fix this. There we go. Miss, and then sizz. S, I, and we said it's the Z sound, but it's not a Z, so it's a S. Sizz, sip, S, I, P, and then P, P, like ski, right? What letter makes that E sound? It's going to be an I. Excellent. Those are our words for this week, third graders. You guys have done fantastic. Way to make it through the rest of these words. Let's review. Grade 3 spelling words from Evan Moor for week 7. We had 2 categories, single syllable words, and the other one's multi-syllable words. So the words were broken apart. Most of the words ended up in the category of the multisyllabic, tending to lean towards a 2-syllable spelling or word itself, minus different in Mississippi, and then the words still and off were single syllable words. Okay. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions or suggestions that you wanted to hear from. If there's any words that you're kind of questioning or wondering how to spell, go ahead and shoot them my way. I'm more than happy to take a look at them. Anyways, thank you so much. I'll see you on the next episode. Mahalos.